for this next part of the assignment, I want you to take a section of your homepage wireframe, and that's going to be the location of some video or animation. You decide what technique you want to use, and create that animation for that part of the web page.
Okay.
Um,
Basically, we find a video and then we can insert it into using the code.
you can use this technique with the keyframes. You can use the video tag, or you can just create a GIF.
Okay. I have to look at the other video because I only watched the video one code using video code.
Okay.
So I need to watch the other one to find out.
Yeah, and you figure out what your gallery is about, and then make a quick little video. So let's say you pick Picasso, then maybe you find a bunch of Picasso paintings and put them in layers in Photoshop and turn that into frame by frame animation and save it as a GIF.
Hmm.
So you just come up with, whatever is your gallery supposed to
Right.
be about. That's what your video or your animation should be about.
Okay. I don't know how to do that yet, but I'll figure it
Well,
out.
that's part of the pick a technique, and then you decide uh,
Okay.
what you want to do.
That's interesting. Okay.
Um, yeah. So if you have any questions, just ask me on Discord. But figure out what technique you want, and then figure out what is going to what you're using that technique for, basically. But it should relate to the gallery page that you're working on, right? Whatever
Right.
as the subject matter for the gallery page.
Yeah, I
So
didn't know you can make a through Photoshop make a video, but you have a teaching section for teaching us how to do that.
yeah, that's in.
Okay.
So I have this video here. So it's on
With
YouTube.
Photoshop, so you can bring video into Photoshop
So here's
and
the.
export it for your web projects, which is cool because you don't need to learn how to use a video editing software tool like
So here,
file that I just created in a few seconds. So now I have video.
this is video from my
Photoshop.
phone.
I kind of shot it portrait,
And then if you go in Photoshop
scale it up.
here,
Edit itself, if you go to Window and you go into Timeline,
there's this timeline.
there's a video timeline that you can play with.
This is in Photoshop.
And so you can play with this edit and you can
But you just need
change,
to
like, when one starts and when one ends. So there's a lot of cool things you can do in here.
I don't know what that noise was.
And then you can play with the length by grabbing this little bigger.
So this is a video editing
Shorten
timeline in
it.
Photoshop.
So that's the length of the video is this bar on top.
Hmm.
And you can do different things to have an interesting effect here. And then I can add information on top of it. So if I want to add some,
But you say you can do images, right? So you can put a bunch of image and then
Yeah.
it become a video. in
Yeah.
Photoshop?
So I just threw this using Photoshop for HTML5 videos. I threw this in the Discord, and I'll put this on
color
Canvas.
text, you can maybe see it.
But I'll show you too if you want,
And
and you can watch this, and that goes through all
this
the
up,
techniques.
and then give it a drop
Okay.
shadow.
And it's in Discord, so it's there. So it's there. So here's
Okay.
Photoshop. So let's say I go to New, and let's say for whatever reason the section that you're going to want to create the video for is like I'll do it 800 pixels by 500 pixels. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So I have this little section here. So the two things that you want to have open for this are going to be your layers. So you make sure you have your layers open and available here. And let me just just scaling the size of the window down. It's too big. So I have layers. I don't need info. I don't need property. And then the one thing that controls the animation, the video, is going to be this timeline window. So you go to window, you go to timeline, and then here it is. So when you bring this window up for the first time, there's no timeline. You don't see anything here. There's just this button in the middle. Well, that is kind of a switcher that switches between two different types of video. So there's this video timeline that you can use, or frame by frame. And this little downward arrow is a drop-down menu that lets you pick what you want to use. So if you switch it to animation, the button changes. If you switch it to video, the button changes to video. And this is a button, so then you click on it, and then you have your timeline. So that's your video timeline. And so the way it works is you have this layer 1 for the video timeline corresponds with layer 1 in your video. Let's say I create a shape. So I'm going to go into the shape tool, and I'll create like a red circle. So I got a red circle here. And if I increase the scale of the timeline, you can do that by dragging this little slider down here, and it's set to 5 frames. So that's the amount of frames that it's set to. So I just drag a circle there, circles on this next layer, and it automatically creates a layer on the timeline. So let's say now I'm going to create a square, and I'm going to change the color, and I'll make it blue. Oops. I'll create I'll create a new layer, create a square, make sure it's blue, and drag it, and now I have a square, and I'll get rid of the red outline. Okay, so now I have a circle and a square, well, an oval and a rectangle. And the rectangle goes on the second part there. Now with these timelines, you can drag an edge and you can scale it. So now if I scale this timeline and I drag it to the right, it's going to reduce the size. So now that rectangle disappears, but it's at this part of the timeline, and there's a little playhead here on top, and you hit play, so it's showing the circle, and then it shows the rectangle, right? So that's doing this animation there. Now what you can do with this is you can open up these timelines, so you click on the downward arrow, and you got all these different properties. And one is position. So you can animate this. So you can actually click on this little stopwatch and hit OK. And when
kind of like an easy After Effects, right?
Yeah, this is just like After Effects. So if you know After Effects, it's using the same like visual icons here for a keyframe, and then you can kind of drag this timeline, and then you can drag the circle, and you move position, and it adds a keyframe. Sorry, drag the square, and it should let's see, change that position. So yeah, it's kind of, so here I'm just changing that position of the, and why, I guess maybe I have to highlight position, maybe. Yeah, I have to make sure that position's highlighted. So I just created a little bit of animation of that rectangle. But this is video, so all you need to do at this point is just go to File, and this is where you output your video. You go to File, you go to Export, and you go to Render Video. And then another screen pops up, and you want to keep all the defaults. Make sure it's an MP4, because that's what we talk about in the unit. give it a name. Just call it test. Save it to my desktop. And give it a few seconds. And then, got a lot of stuff open here, but then go to my desktop. And there's the video test. Oops. And then I hit play. And it's not moving. I thought it'd be working. Something, let's see. That's weird.
So is it every time you want to create you create a new layer, it'll go into this timeline?
Yeah, it should. Oh, here you go. So now it's working. So it's these. It's a weird thing in Photoshop. It's these shape layers that I'm demoing this with. I had to change the shape layer to pixels. They weren't technically pixels. So this really works with pixels. So like I can use it with images. So I'll just go to, let's say you pick Picasso for your gallery, let's say. And I just did a search for, Picasso right here. I got all these Picasso images. So I'm just gonna right click on some of these and copy the image and paste it in there. So I got that painting there. Here's another one. I'll paste in here. Every time I add an image, it creates a new layer. So what you can do too is you can shorten these little timelines here. And let me just grab a couple other things. So I got this. I'm just kind of playing with the timing of each layer in the video editor. Like this. And now, I got this kind of video of different paintings. It's just a quick example, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you just go to File, Export, Render Video, call it Picasso, render, and then go to my desktop, find that video, and there it is.
Oh, okay.
And then you could bring this into your web page with that video tag. So if you want to add that video now, what you should do is set it up so you have a folder just for media. So you have a folder for your images, a folder for your pages, and I would create a folder just for media, for videos. So I'm going to create a new folder. let's say this is for the gallery. Oops. And then in it, I have a folder for my video. So I'm going to change the name here. Let's see. This is for my gallery project. And inside the gallery project, I have a folder, and I'll call this media. So all the things for the web page that aren't images would go inside the media folder, you know, videos, for example. And then I'll throw the Picasso video that I just created in there. So there's the, you know, I just have it organized now. So in my gallery project, I have this media folder and all of my videos, you know, all my MP4 files go in there, and then I'll create the web page for this. And save this in the gallery folder that I just created. So here's my index.html, and then I have my code. And so so for this, it goes inside your body of the HTML because you're using a video tag. So it's this video tag, and then what you have to do though is you have to set your width and your height for this. So if this is on your gallery page and you have your wireframe, just make sure that space in your wireframe is going to be the same size as the video. And I have to go back, I don't remember the size that I made this.
It's 800 or something.
Yeah, something like in pixels it was 800 by 500. So so I give it a width of 800 and a height of 500. And if you want it to play like automatically, you can use Autoplay. So that's the attribute that you can add to this tag, so the video plays automatically. But the important thing with the video tag, it's not the video tag by itself that is going to show the video. You also have to use the source tag. So nested inside the video tag is the source tag, and this is what points to the video. So it's source, and then it's src. Source is the tag, src is the attribute, and then I'm just going to that media folder where I created that video. And then you should give it a type, and the type is just telling the web page what to expect. MP4 is going to be the standard that you want to use, so that's become the standard now. I talk about this other file called the .ogg file. That's not even necessary. That's like a backup file just in case the MP4 doesn't work. But this should be enough then. And then if I look at this, and there's my video, and it should play. There's another attribute here called controls, and that gives you the control bar to play this. And it might be because it's so long that it was taking a while. and then you also have loop. So if you use loop, it's gonna keep on playing. But this is the whole process from beginning to end to add video to your web page. So it's pretty straightforward. It's just a video tag. I mean, if you choose to do this example with video, then the only thing you really have to do is create the video. So figure out the right video for your gallery, that makes sense, right? So you get like a video gallery of some sort.
Is it okay if we make the video in Premiere?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my point of doing this is not to really talk about the method, but is to make sure that you can just use the tag.
Right.
So,
Another question. So this is a question I've been wanting to ask you for a while. Like, I have a website for my silly music project or whatever, and I have a site that I built through GoDaddy's website builder or whatever. If I were to build a site, using the knowledge that we've done in this class, how, and we don't have to go in depth on this because that might be a long answer, but how does one custom build a website and then deliver that website, like through GoDaddy to be live?
right. Yeah, that's a good question. So we haven't talked about that yet.
Right.
Use this rule.
Sorry. So at the end of this project, and for your final project, I want you to upload that to a server. So I actually want you to create a project that's live on the web.
Okay, so we kind of will go through this.
Yeah, and I haven't put the video in Canvas yet for the unit.
Okay.
But if you, I'll give you a preview of what it is.
So does the video have to reflect what's in the gallery, or could be any video?
No, it should be. I mean, if you're doing Disney, it should reflect what's in your gallery.
Okay. Okay.
So it's cohesive. I want the gallery to be a cohesive kind of project.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Andrew, to answer your question, I do have.
The point of this video is to show you that there are.
So I do have this kind of. I actually created a little animated character that points to the.
Nice. Are you doing that in Photoshop? Are you doing all these animations in Photoshop?
I know, and that's kind of to answer your question about can you use something specific. I could have done this in Photoshop.
Right.
I actually did this animation in Illustrator.
I didn't realize, is that new to the new Photoshop and Illustrator? I didn't realize you could even do that stuff.
So
altervista.org.
you can easily do this in Photoshop. So you can do keyframe animation.
Right.
In Photoshop.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Illustrator doesn't have a keyframe animation tool.
Okay.
But what I have is a plugin for After Effects that basically will take a series of, will take your Illustrator artwork and convert it into something that you can then animate in After Effects.
Okay, got it.
So the character was created in Illustrator and I image traced it, but then I cut the arm and created a pivot point in After Effects.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Got
So
it.
the final version of this is in After Effects. So I could have easily used Photoshop to do this as well.
Cool.
Yeah. It probably would have been faster in Photoshop, but I was just trying out this plugin.
Sure. Whatever works. Lots of ways to do things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have a video and animation on Photoshop? How to do animation in?
The closest thing I have is what I uploaded to you guys with the GIF animation. So I don't have a video where I'm drawing in Photoshop, and the only reason I don't have it is because I know not everybody has a tablet, and that's kind of key to doing the hand-drawn stuff is having a good tablet, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just, what I did is just I'm animating text. I'm keeping it really simple. I'm typing text, and you can kind of see that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't get into. Plus, that's a totally different class, right? That's the one of the classes. So it's like it gets pretty deep when you start getting the animation.
Right. Right.
So
Are
uh,
you, sorry, one more question. Do we have to do music also?
um, you can if you want to. Um, it's up to you, but you don't necessarily need music
Okay.
because I mean, you're only going to get music with video in using the Photoshop version. And there is you can add a music track in here. Um,
Really?
so yeah, you can do that. Um, see audio track,
Oh,
you
okay.
can actually add audio. So that's kind of crazy to think about Photoshop. You can actually add audio into Photoshop.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, technically, let's say you have a cool image and you just want like an image with background music, you could technically do that. You just go to just throw that image in the timeline and then go to add audio.
Do you think in like 5 years that these will all collapse into like one program? Because they're all kind of doing that in a weird way.
They are. I mean, Photoshop even has 3D capabilities now. You can do like 3D animation, um, but they'll never do that. For one reason, there's so many different like specific tools. Like if
Right.
you
Yeah.
think about After Effects, but Photoshop, in a sense, is something that's kind of collapsed because you technically could do a lot of things that you do with other programs and just stay within the world of Photoshop if you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can animate, you can, but like you think about sound design, it's like
Right.
all these other tools that have very specific functions.
Right. Right. Right.
There's only so much that you could probably put into one
Right. Okay.
tool.
Okay.
So
I gotta run. I'm gonna sign off. Uh, but I
okay,
will watch the video, and I'm a little behind on my thing, but I'm working on it.
sure, and I'm gonna put some more. I was mentioning if you looked at Discord, I'm putting code examples from tonight in there. So not only will you have the video, but I will put the code examples by just cutting and pasting this into Discord, and I will include some code examples for the navigation and the gallery. So if you're behind, I think some code examples might help you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So
Thank you.
yeah, so I think that's about all. I think everybody should, between this and the videos,
Mm.
on the videos on making video, you should be good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Questions, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
Doke.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
All
Have a
right.
good night.
See
Bye,
you
guys.
guys. Yep.